Welcome back, everyone, to another incredible episode of Chat with Dan. Now, before we start, I just want to thank you so much for taking the time to checking this out. Don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, follow, it helps a lot, and again, thank you. Have an incredible day or evening, depending where you are, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay safe. Welcome, everyone, to another incredible episode of Chat with Dan. For today, we have the incredible, the amazing, the awesome Eccaia on the show. Eccaia, how are you today?
Really good, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Of course. What better way to continue having an epic day with an epic guest? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Absolutely. Now, for those who don't know, who is the incredible, amazing, badass Eccaia, please tell us who you are.
I am a actor, stunt performer, martial artist, and podcast host.
That's badass, you're saying. I love it. But let's go back in time here for a little bit and tell me where the journey began. Like, what made you start into the whole stunt acting world?
So actually, before I started with any of that, I started martial arts a long time ago. So I think when I was 5. So we started off there, and through that, I actually joined something called Pulse Performance Demo Team, and that was up in Toronto. And we did all kinds of performances. We went to a few competitions, did performances here and there. So it was a lot of fun. And then our head coach, Emerson Wong, he started doing some stunt seminars. So we did that. And then we also had a performance at Movie Expo, which is an event where they bring together directors, producers, people from all over the industry. And there we did a performance. And there was also a lot of stunt stuff on stage. And just seeing that, it was like, very interesting. It's kind of like behind the scenes of an action movie,
Yeah.
right? Which I love action movies. And actually, at this event, I met my acting coach, Tezito Garcia, and he's an actor who does his own stunts. So from there, I kind of started doing some acting classes and then some stunt classes as well. And I've done seminars here and there, and we did some filming up in Toronto. So that's kind of how the whole thing sprang to life.
I love it. But tell me, what were some of the challenges that you had when you were recently, making those first steps in your career?
The biggest one I would say, honestly, is just kind of getting over the whole like mind trip of it all. Because you're like a lot of stunts, you're just kind of like throwing yourself on the floor or certain things that you wouldn't usually be doing. Like, I'm not going to do a front flip and intentionally fall, or so I thought. So it was kind of just getting my brain around that whole concept. And same with the whole concept of you don't have to worry about hitting people because people know what they're doing. That's what we're here for. So
Yeah.
I'd say that was honestly the biggest thing. The other challenge I faced is just kind of I've had a few people here and there just kind of saying, "Oh, well, are you sure? I mean, like you're so young, you're such a little girl, like stuff like that." So it was kind of just, not only getting my own head around it, but also getting those around me to be like, "Okay, this is what I want to do." So, yeah.
There you are. That's incredible. I love it. And also the fact that you were like, you know what? I'm just gonna do it regardless of what you think or say. That's love. That's epic. I love it. I love it. But now focusing. So we're gonna talk on your stunt and acting. So first with the stunt, tell me how you prepare for a stunt scene. I would assume, right, that before the scene they will guide you like a little bit that you will have to do this, and that. But mentally and physically, how you prepare?
The first thing I do is read over a script. You can get to meet kind of who I'm working with if they're available, because that's honestly just important. And then stretching and warming up. It is the most important thing. It sounds so simple, but it honestly is. Like, I've done a few moves where I'm like, oh, I can just do this kick. Hamstrings, they need to be warmed up and all that. So that's always the first thing. Next, it's going back over the script and just running everything kind of myself. So let's say, look, I'm just doing, I don't know, a high block punch or something. It's just literally running that slowly, then running it through fast, maybe working through the other person's part, just so I can kind of understand what's going to be happening in the scene. And then just taking some time to like breathe, really get my like head in the game, like just really learning what's happening in the scene, because you never know, right? Like the one time we were filming, everyone's like, okay, you're in an alleyway, even though we weren't. But you're in an alleyway, here's like the situation, here's your character. So it's kind of getting into the whole persona that you're going to play.
That's
So that's what,
incredible.
and then I go and I talk to whomever I'm going to be working with, because it's always easier if you're just kind of on like a first name basis. Of course, it's not like you're working with strangers, so that always helps me. But then of course there's times where you don't have that time to go and meet people, so it's just, here's what you're doing, go do it. So there's
Yeah.
always that.
That's wow. And like, let's say, that one day I just want to starting the whole stunt work, what advice would you give to me as someone who recently turned 30 and wants to, this whole stunt career? Like, what advice, based on what you know, what do you think would be important for me to know before jumping in?
Um, okay, this is actually a bit of a tricky question because there's two parts to it. I would
Okay.
say you have to know going into it that on like a physical aspect, there is a chance that you're going to get hurt. There's always that chance, I feel like, with anything. But even with this, because that is the whole thing, you're going to be falling off of high heights, you're going to be like getting punched, all that stuff. So it's really just you have to be comfortable with that, knowing that. And you also have to know that, well, on a more of a mental aspect, there's lots of people you're going to be working with. So that was
Okay.
always like a bit of a struggle for me because like just meeting all those people and having to socialize. So that's something I would say just really get your head around that there's a chance you get hurt and that you're going to have to meet a lot of people. So there's that. But in terms of like a mental aspect, what advice I would say is just honestly go for it, right?
Mm.
Give everything a try. And always, though, if you're going to do something that you think is a little dangerous, go for it. Go for it with 100%. Because if you start doing something, you chicken out, that's when you start actually getting hurt.
All right, I'll take that in mind if I ever want to start into this career. I love it. And tell me, like, what is your thing after, you shoot a couple of stunt scenes here and there, you're done, you call for the day. Do you have like a specific ritual for you to be like, okay, I'm done, I'm gonna relax now, or you're like, no, I'm gonna do something else? Like, what is your thing after?
Normally, right after I'm done something, I'll take a minute and just sit down, have some water. If I have it with me, I'll have like my tea or whatever I have with me. So just take a minute to just decompress, let my muscles relax for like 5 minutes around. And then if I have, for example, like a lot of floor space or something like that, then I'll take the time to like run tricks or something else that I have to do, or just because I do martial arts, run the tricks or routine that's already in like for competition. So
Mhm.
if I have space to do that, that's something I love to do. But if I don't, like if it's done for the day, I'm like going home. After that, I like to just take my time, decompress. I really like to read, so that's something I always do after because it's also I feel like with reading also it allows you to kind of shift focus, but also be very like in what's the term? Like very in the moment at the
Mm.
same time. Like it allows you to both kind of have a relax, like a little bit of an escape and ask. I cannot speak today. Words are hard.
I know.
um,
Don't worry, I've been there too, so I got you.
yeah. But also have some time to relax.
That's incredible. Now, getting back a little bit on the whole stunt. So, what I mean, I have interviewed a couple of stunt performers here and there, and what I've realized of what I ended up discovering is that they also tend to do like different physical activities, climbing, martial arts, running, what else, like gymnastics. I mean, I would assume that that is also recommended for you to do so your muscles can stay up in shape, and also you can continue like develop yourself with the whole muscles and everything, correct?
Yeah, definitely.
That's
Definitely.
amazing. That's amazing. And moving a little bit here and going to your, well, no, no, you know what, before moving into your whole acting, I have one last question for the whole stunt, like how the whole audition process works for a stunt performer. I mean, do they usually be like, so you go audition and they tell you like, I don't know, fall here or jump here, like how does that work?
Right now, I feel like after the pandemic and everything, a lot of it's moved to self tapes, which I really like because that way you can audition for anything, anywhere. You don't actually have to be in the place. A lot of times, I feel you'll get a script or some kind of outline.
Okay.
For me personally, for some of the stunt auditions I've done, is they don't necessarily give you an exact what they want you to show, but they'll just say, show us something that showcases your athletic ability or showcase like running or something. So you kind of just work around that. Whatever they say, really. For self tapes, yeah, it's a little bit confusing at times because you don't really know exactly what they're looking for, but that's something
Mm.
I did learn with that is just for self tapes, just do what you feel is right. Like look at the instructions, follow them, but do something that you're happy with, right? You don't want
Okay.
to put something forward that you think that's what they want to see, and same goes for acting. Just put something forward that you're happy with that still you think follows the outlines, the directions. So yeah, it's really just a lot of self filming. Kind of, I've done a lot in this room actually.
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. And moving on now to your acting career, tell me how you prepare a character. Now we understand, of course, that depends on the role. But what is your initial approach before, start diving into this whole process?
First thing when I get a script is I read the entire thing, like just completely, like just in my own voice. I read it once in my head and then once through out loud, just literally saying the lines, not trying to act, not doing all that. Because that way it also starts you on the memorizing track. That way you also know kind of what's happening in the scene. And also something very important is I read all of the stage directions. So this happened, I was reading a Power Rangers script,
Okay.
actually, which was a lot of fun. And so I was just reading through all of my character lines, what everyone else is going to say, but also the little direction that says in the background an explosion's happening or something. Because that way it helps to kind of put you in the scene so you know
Mm,
exactly where you are, what's happening. Um, yeah, but preparing for the actual character, it's a lot of just kind of you read what they give you, and then I kind of close my eyes and I create what I think the character looks like and would act like, and just some other situations they would be in other than what's on the script.
mhm.
And that just kind of helps me to kind of develop that character for myself before I go stepping into their shoes.
There you go. I love it. And has it ever happened to you that there was this character that you were preparing, but it took you more than usual? That there was something about that character that got you stuck.
This has actually happened a couple times because yeah, it's happened definitely a couple times, and it's funny because my mom was always telling me, she's like, you have such a little attitude, this should be easy for you. But with the like more of the sassy like attitude like characters, those ones they always take me a bit more time because it's trying to match kind of the energy that the character has. That's
Okay.
something that I always find challenging because I find for me when doing like sad scenes and everything, which I love doing. Oh my goodness, they're so much fun. Um, but I find I can kind of really bring that emotion up and look at past experiences and bring that emotion up. Whereas with the more like sassy attitude like characters, is you're in the moment. Maybe they don't have any like experiences to draw on. It's just
Yeah.
they're at school, they're dealing with like a bully or something, and you just kind of gotta bring that out. So I find them a little more challenging just because I don't have other things to go off of other than my own personality. So those ones I definitely do find a little challenging, but they're always fun to do. I do enjoy
Yeah.
trying to bring those characters out.
That's awesome. And like once you have the character, right? Do you usually stay on it until the day that you need to shoot the scene, or you just let's say that put him in the closet for a little bit until you need to go, until you need to shoot, then you grab it back. Like once you have it, what is your thing after?
So it does depend on the character and it depends on how many lines I have, etc. If I have a really, really short script, I will just run it and run it and run it and run it again until I know it by heart. Like I could literally just walk up to someone and say the whole thing. If it's a really short script, and then I normally, honestly, those ones I just kind of run all the way through until I have to shoot it. Whereas for the ones that are really longer or have a lot of emotion or anything behind them, I will memorize them. I will really get in the character, run them like how I would on camera a few times, and then put them in the closet and then literally not pull them out until about like I'd say like 30 minutes to an hour before, and then pull them out, run them once or twice again because when I'm filming, I really like to have things fresh and brand new. And I feel like when I run them over and over again, sometimes I tend to get a little bit what's the term? It's not lazy, but I tend to get a little bit more relaxed with them, and then I find it harder sometimes to bring up all that emotion because I'm just so used to it, right? So definitely say for the longer, more like difficult scripts, I tend to put them away a little bit more.
Wow. Okay. And also, same question here. Let's say that at that one day I call you and I tell you that I want to become an actor. So the same concept here. What advice would you give to me before starting out?
Um, that's actually once again, it's actually a fairly difficult question. Um, and I feel like you're going to hear this from a lot of people, but you can't give up with this one
Hmm.
because it is a very competitive industry in the sense of you might go up for a role and expect that you're going to get it because you think you nailed it, but there's like 60 other people, and the director's vision is something much different than even what you look like. It can be as simple as that. Like, per se, I have blonde hair and blue eyes, and they're looking for someone who has natural black hair and brown eyes, right? So it can be something as simple as that. And it's just, you have to get used to that, like, kind of not rejection, but it is almost that, honestly. It's just knowing that it's not about you. Just because you didn't get it, you have to know that it's not because you did a bad performance or something like that. You just might have not matched the vision they were going for.
Mm,
So the advice I would honestly give is just don't give up and don't get down on yourself when you don't get the role that you think you should have or something like that.
that's okay. I'll take that into consideration. If I ever become an actor, once I win my Oscar for Best Actor, I'll be mentioning you in my thank you speech. Gotcha.
Thank you.
All right. Now let's say that one day Netflix, HBO Max, Disney Plus, you name it, they call you and they tell you that they have this idea, which goes that all of the characters you have played at the moment, they're gonna gather to celebrate your birthday. The film needs a name, so how would you call it?
Filmiest name every. Ooh, that's okay. Do you want me to create a name or pick like a name that's already created?
Create one on your own imagination.
Everyone I've ever played. Okay, that's actually it's really difficult because there's so many people from so many different genres. Like there's some people that are like it's from a pure like drama script, and there's other people who are like, I'm happy and I have a lot of cats. So that's a really difficult question. Film title, Dave. Um, hmm.
Take your time. Take your time.
I'm gonna go with maybe like a box full of surprises or a world full of surprises because
Okay.
I feel like there's just so many different people, like I said, from so many different genres that it's gonna be one heck of a surprise. Oh my goodness. Because it's just I know there's sometimes like personalities that will clash, but now I want to see that. That would actually be fun.
Yeah. Okay.
I should do. I should make a script out of that.
Yeah. There you go. So the name would be a box. What? A box full of surprises. Or
Let's go with a world full of surprises.
Well, that sounds like a Tim Burton film.
You know what it does?
It
Huh.
does actually. That's it. We never know. You know, we never know.
I mean, you never know, right? There's so
I
many
love it.
possibilities.
That's really cool. Now, what about if you had to choose one of your characters to go out have a good time? Which character would you take along with?
Hmm. Okay, well, I have two answers for this one. So the first one, it would be there's a girl named Georgie, and what happened is it was kind of like it was a script and it was very sad. Her parents are like dead, like it's a whole thing, and I would want to go like out somewhere with her just so I can hear the whole story, get a little more backstory, and just honestly be there for her because it was so sad, like trying to get into that character because it's so sad her story. So I would say that just in the sense of that way I could learn a little bit more about her and just kind of be there for her, honestly. But if I wanted to go to have a good time, that one's a little more challenging, but I would actually say this person doesn't have a name, but it was for Project Hoodie, so it was like a hoodie character. And I just really liked her because she's such a calm character. She doesn't talk much, but she really just likes to have like quiet time, so she like would pull her hoodie all the way tight so like just like this was showing of her face.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, it was just a very positive kind of script, and she was just so calm all the time. So I think it would be really fun to kind of go and do something like maybe a cafe or something.
All right, I'll take it. What about if you had to describe your whole career at the moment, but on a meal?
In a
Which
meal.
which one would you pick?
Ooh. Hmm. That's actually difficult.
Take your time. I mean, those two questions are usually the most, like the ones that take more than usual to answer. So you're fine. Take your time.
Yeah, definitely. I would say probably either like ramen or miso soup because it's one thing where it's like one dish, but there's so many things you can do with it. And
Mm.
there's just like, it's like one big dish, but there's so many different parts to it as well. And
Mm-hmm.
it kind of reminds me of my career, honestly, because there's just me, but then there's like the acting part, the podcast part, the martial arts part, just the regular like kid, student, whatever you want to say part. So I feel like it would definitely be the ramen or miso soup because they're just so complex and yet they're just one thing at the same time.
Okay, I'll take it. All right, perfect. Now, what motivates you? We all have those days that we just
Yeah.
want to quit. It's normal. It happens to all of us, regardless in what we do. So, how you manage to kind of silence all of those toxic voices or thoughts and put them away so you can continue in this journey that you have built for some years now.
I feel like honestly what motivates me now is just the drive to kind of want to build a future for myself.
Okay.
Because I think also what happened was like throughout COVID, like it just really made me realize this, but you can't rely on anyone else to build your life for you. There's some things that you just have to do yourself. And so I feel like just that motivation of honestly, this is the life I want. Like this is the end goal, this is what I want. And just the feeling of constantly wanting to reach that goal, finally wanting to like get there. And I think that just motivates me to keep moving forward, even on those days where I really just want to quit. I really just want to do nothing, just like give everything up. Just that feeling of you have to keep pushing to get that end goal. And so I think just really that the feeling of wanting to be more, to be able to build more, to continue forward everything. Because I love what I do. I genuinely really love what I do. And the thought of not having that also, it genuinely terrifies me. So
Yeah.
just that motivation, that kind of fear of loss, but as well as that kind of that dream of future and everything. So that kind of just motivates me to keep moving forward so I can finally reach that goal.
Yeah. Yeah, I do. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a process. It's a
Yeah,
marathon. You should
definitely.
enjoy the ride of it. Of course, that along the ride, there gonna be some bumps or situations that they're not gonna be nice, but it's part of the whole experience for you to or either become better in what you do and also have more tough skin, which I have also discovered that in this whole industry, you need a lot of tough skin.
Yeah, you definitely do. Like for myself throughout COVID, in terms of I was doing a lot of self-tapes actually and a lot of auditions, but in terms of my martial arts, I stopped competing actually in this last year. I stopped doing a lot of stuff. For the first year of COVID, I stopped training, honestly. And at first I thought it was because I wanted to quit, that I was done with it. But I think it was just burnout, honestly, because the first year of COVID, sorry. So like 2020, I was doing tournaments every weekend, like virtual tournaments as soon as they came up. So I was doing like 2 to 3 a week every weekend. And so after all that, plus everything I was doing before the pandemic, I think it all caught up to me as soon as 2021 hit because I did nothing.
Mm.
Like just like training stopped, I didn't compete. So there was definitely that. I'm sorry, what was the question again? Sorry, I got lost in my own train of thought.
I mean, you already answered the whole what motivates you. Remember, we were just talking about that at the end of the day, it's a process. I mean, it's a process that it's a marathon that,
Right,
and
right.
also like the whole fact that you need tough skin. You know.
You right, that's exactly it. Thank you. Um, yeah, but honestly, it's like I don't know. I quit with that, but now that I'm back, now that 2023 started, I feel like I came back stronger than I did before because even before I was starting to lose kind of that some of that
Yeah.
motivation that I had back in 2019. So now I'm coming back like fire's on, fire's back, and I'm ready to just go full steam ahead and actually keep working forward.
There you go. I love it. And my last question here is, what can we expect from you in the future?
All right. Well, I do have a very exciting project coming up that I can't talk too much about,
Okay.
but I'm doing a stunt performance here in London sometime after August, I believe early September. So I have that coming up, and I'm also working on a special season of Spill It, my podcast. So that's very exciting, and I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to doing some more collaborating actually. And just saying, I really actually enjoy being on this side of kind of the interviewing aspect because I'm normally
Mm.
the one asking the questions. So I do really enjoy being on this aspect of it. So I hope to be doing a little more collaborations and hopefully some more interviews with people.
Sounds like a plan. I love it. I love it. I mean, what can I say? Your career, it's incredible, and the fact that you are showing, the fact that you are showing results that it is possible. I think that's that's kind of the most important part here that you're actually making happen because I do think that sometimes whenever we want to start something new, we tend to see like the ones that are like way on top. And of
Yeah,
course, it's overwhelming because you're like, okay, so I'm here, they're there. how am I gonna be able to, take it over there? And like you
Yeah.
tend to push yourself and into a point in which you start to discover that it's not like that it needs time. But the fact that you're doing it, you're making it happen, I mean, that's incredible. And I'm super sure that our next conversation is going to be about the
Yeah.
multiple thousands of projects that you have been on, because it's incredible what you do. What can I say?
Thank you. I have to say, I have to agree with you on that one. Is even when I started getting into acting and start performing, is you look at people who have already built their career, who are already at the top, and you're like, you either think one, it's gonna happen like that, like it's just gonna happen overnight, or two, when it doesn't happen, you start to get down on yourself. At least I did. Just kind of like, well, like maybe I'm not doing enough, maybe just what I'm doing isn't good enough. But really, it's not that. It's just it's a lot of time, it's a lot of effort, and it's continuous effort. You have to be consistent with that to kind of build that end goal, because like time never stops. Time never stops, and
Right.
neither does like self-tapes. None of that ever stops. It'll keep coming. So you just have to keep moving forward, and not, like I said, back with my advice is you can't get down on yourself over little things, right? You just got to keep moving forward, and don't, but it helps to really just look at yourself and say, hey, this is what I am doing. This is what I am succeeding in, instead of looking at, well, this is what I don't have. This is what I can't do. Like, just look at the positive, look at what you can do, and look at all that you have achieved.
And there you have it. What can I say? Amazing. Incredible. I love it. I also want to thank those who watched this video. Thank you so much. If you are also listening on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google, and Amazon, thank you so much. This episode is about to be over. So in the description below, you will see the link to Eccaia Instagram. So make sure to follow her. Let's make her viral. Hashtag Team Eccaia. She's incredible. She's amazing. Also, if this is your first episode, thank you so much. Don't forget to leave, subscribe, follow. It helps a lot. If it is your fifth or sixth, thank you so much. Continue watching them. Spread the word. And again, Eccaia, thank you so much for making this happen. Keep inspiring, keep creating, and I'll see you in the next one.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right.